All right. Well, this is Khumbu. This is Teeka, and I got his name. It's the end of the session.
Yes, you take a treat for yourself.
Yeah, there we go. And I don't even have any treats at this point. And this is the roadmap to success. I'm going to leave the treats that I have that I've been giving them here with you, so you know what treats I use. Make sure that they're comfortable with them and their body gets adjusted to them, so we don't have any diarrhea. And if your dog does have diarrhea, canned pumpkin usually, and another option that you can use is cottage cheese. However, some dogs become lactose intolerant. And if your dog's lactose intolerant, that will make it worse.
Pumpkin's supposed to help with constipation or diarrhea, both.
And it firms up their stool. It helps with their system going. So if you do have another diarrhea incident, I would I always have 2 cans of it in my cupboard at all times. Anytime I have diarrhea, I just start putting in their food.
Okay.
Speaking of food, we'll start there. The Guardian right now free feeds the dogs, and he's had chows for a long time and hasn't had any problems with it. But when you have multiple dogs together, establishing kind of a hierarchy and rank is really helpful, not only in terms of obedience, but also in terms of the dogs seeing us as being the leader, because they kind of are going to push to see what they can get away with. So we can help the dogs understand that the human's up in that leadership position because he eats first, and then I get to eat when he gives me permission to eat. So I would probably alternate feeding them. For one day feed her first, one day feed him first. Okay. Unless you notice one of them won't feed in front of the other one, then you can just feed them in whatever order they have already established. But remember, you're giving them an opportunity to eat, and because you've been free feeding them, they probably are going to not want to eat right away. So I put the food in the bowls, and what I would do is I'd probably feed them just without showing the whole apartment. We have kind of a work island, and there's a kind of a choke point right there. So what I would do is I'd put the food in both bowls, put one bowl further back and one bowl further forward, and you stand right there in between. Actually, we're going to do this. I'm going to do this with the Guardian off camera, so he's actually seen me do it. So I won't describe it here. But basically, what I want you to do is you're going to feed the dogs one at a time. Now, when you give the dog permission to come and eat, if that dog doesn't come over within a reasonable amount of period of time, a couple of requests, then pick up the bowl, dump it empty, and then put the bowl back down. And then you invite the next dog to come in. What would typically happen when free feeding, the first couple of days, they'll kind of see what, they're going to be uncomfortable about it. It's a different scenario. And then you're eventually going to, hunger kicks in. So basically when it's the first time I've touched her. All right, so basically what you're going to do is when the dog takes his first bite of food, come up with a funny command word for each dog to eat, say tacos or lasagna or whatever you want to say. So every time that dog takes his first bite of food for 2 months, it hears lasagna. Just for the first bite, one time, you say lasagna. And after a while, you say lasagna, and he goes, that's my permission word to eat. So you're going to eat, put food in both bowls, then get a chip or carrot, something you can eat in 5 or more bites, or your real meal. When you get done, then you invite the first dog to come over, tap the bowl, call the dog by name. When it comes over, takes its first bite of food, you say sushi or whatever it is. When that dog gets done, don't let it go to the other bowl, then make it leave the area.
Do I need to have 2 bowls?
Yeah, and I would definitely have 2 bowls. And make them look a little bit different so they can understand the difference. They'll smell it, they'll know the difference, but it makes it easier for you. And then when one dog is eating, the other dog's not allowed to be, I would say the dog's not allowed to be past the work island. So that way it can't see the other dog, because otherwise sometimes the other dog can come nearby and I'm just going to hang out really close on your butt and try to make you feel a little intimidated. Hopefully I can get your food. You're going to eat there. When I'm eating, my Guardian has the situation under control. I don't have to worry about watching my 6 because my Guardian's going to do that for me. And then when that dog's done, it leaves and we invite the other dog to come in. It's normal to take a day or 2 for them to get into it. So you might doctor their food by putting a couple of these little treats in there, show them you have one, touch their nose, and then go over there and let them see you drop it in the bowl. That usually will get the process started. But after about a week or so, they won't try to come in there. They'll kind of be sitting contently. And it's the most important activity for dogs in the wild. They put a lot of significance, a lot of importance on it. If they get to see you acting like the leader, and you're not letting one come and sweat the other one, and you're not, and you're eating first, they see that you have more of that status. Puppy, puppy. This is the hand motion I use to get dogs to come because it looks like I have something in my hand, even though my hand's completely empty. Okay, so the Guardian here actually has done a good job about rules. Another rule that I would have is make sure the dogs sit before you go through any door. And after with petting with a purpose of pass train, that's going to help them get better at it. So go to the door and say sit once. If they don't sit, then walk within 3 seconds, walk away, sit down, wait somewhere for 1 minute, then go back and tell them again to sit. This time walk away for 2 minutes if they don't, then next time for 4 minutes, then for 8 minutes. Keep double the length of time. Until eventually you say sit and they just sit down automatically. All right, so you have a question?
Do I take, I mean, it seems everything we're doing is like trying to get them to think it's something they're being treated special, like rewards. So should every time they go outside be a reward?
Well, going for a walk could be a reward if the dog does like it, and a pet could be a reward as well.
I'm asking because if I tell them to sit and they don't, I walk away. I mean, they never go to the door to go out. They know
Sure.
I take them out 4 times.
Well, you're going out for a walk, so I go over there and with the leash and then tell them to sit. If they don't sit, then just drop the leashes and walk away and sit back down, turn
Okay.
the TV on. So what you're saying is the reward is the door opening and us going through in that particular scenario.
Okay.
And I also, another one that you would do is that's easy, come. That's passive training. We're going to talk about that in a sec. Is every time I cross the street, I make my dog sit down. And so, and then the passive training and petting with purpose I'll talk about next are going to help with that. But eventually they just automatically sit down every time you come to a street corner.
That's what I do now when we come to the
That-
curb. I make them sit, and they sit until I say cross.
That's awesome. So basically, let me see. So those are, and then when the guardian's eating, the dog should not be within 7 feet of them. And remember, if they're doing anything a dog's doing that you don't disagree with, as far as they're concerned, you're giving 2 thumbs up to. So the dog kind of, and you got 2 dogs. One dog creeps a little bit, the other dogs want to creep in a little bit more, and sometimes they kind of are pushing the boundaries to see what they can get away with. Now that's leads me to what I call my coffee for closers. So basically, every once in a while, pull out a treat and say come or here or sit or down or whatever it is, and whoever does it first gets the treat. Whoever does it second doesn't not get a treat unless they get the same performance. So they both sit at the same time or approximately close to. Then I would both give them a treat. If not, only the first dog gets the reward. That motivates the second dog to want to start doing it. And I think in this case, you can use this. For him, he's more confident, and so he at least for me, he was responding better. I'm guessing it's probably her nervousness with me being here. Maybe they respond at the same time for you, but if not, well, if I bust my tail and you do a great job, and I get paid the same thing as the guy that showed up and sat down and laid in the sun and suntanned all day long, well, I have no motivation to do my job the next time. So you create a motivation for them. I'd also like the guardian to practice a little passive training and petting with a purpose. Petting with a purpose is going to be when the dog comes up and jumps up or invades his personal space or nudges him for attention, the dog is telling the human what to do. Every time he does it, that reinforces, yes, we're peers at best, or maybe you have more authority as the dog. But because we don't listen to the dog can get stressed out when it tells us, don't go over there, that student's trouble, or that door's a pain in the butt, or whatever it is, and we're not listening. They're like, well, I'm telling him what to do, and he's not listening. That stresses me out even more. So the more that the dog starts to see, I can't tell the human what to do, I have to ask or prepay for it by sitting down. So the dog comes and nudges you, nothing happens, other than you tell the dog to sit. And if the dog does sit, we pet under the chin and say the word sit and only the word sit. And you can pet the dog as long as you want to after that. If it doesn't sit, disengage. And I want you to play a little hard to get. That disengagement, come. That's passive training we're talking about in a sec. Disengagement is a powerful way of communicating that you don't like something without disagreeing or needing punishment.
So from this point forward, there are no more free treats or free affections.
Exactly. So you're going to earn it, and that helps boost the dog's self-esteem.
They just went from my best friends to not liking me at all.
They are going to love you, but there will be a transition period where they're going to kind of fight it a little bit because they like it the way it is now. But if you get in the habit of petting with a purpose, every time you pet your dog, it boosts the dog's self-esteem because it's earning that affection. It helps the dog see you as an authority figure, so it helps take a little bit of that burden of responsibility and pressure off to the shoulders, and you're helping them practice a basic activity. So it really becomes a triple benefit every time you pet your dog. Now, passive training, which is what I was just talking about, is waiting for the dog to organically offer you the behavior on their own. So every time the dog comes to you, pet it and say, come. Every time it sits, pet it and say sit.
Say come even once it comes, say come?
After it, yeah.
Okay.
So for passive training, we're waiting for the dog to do it first voluntarily and just recognizing it.
Okay.
Most of us, when we're asking our dog to come, it represents the end of fun. I'm at the dog park, I'm having a great time yelling at the squirrel, and you ask me to come. I listen to you, I put you up on my leash, and you take me away from yelling at the squirrel. I was having fun, I listened to you, now the fun is over. So now, well, the dog was just walking by, and I pet it and say come. It sits down on its own. I pet it and say sit. Now I asked the guardian off camera what he could do to make his dog's could do to make him happy, and he really struggled with that, which most of my clients do. Come. That's a good example of it right there. And so he was just passing by. But now, just like us, if you do a good job and your boss makes a big deal, it gives you a $100 bonus every time you do your report properly. Well, that's more motivation to get that report done properly. Yeah. So now these dogs are going to have more motivation to listen to their guardian and know what that they can do to help it, to please him, because these are the things that seem to get the guardian's attention. Most of us actually train our dogs to misbehave. They bark and we correct them. They come and sit down, we ignore them. Well, if my goal is to get your attention, I'm going to do the bad thing, or the thing that's undesirable. Now, the video above we talked about different how to systematically help the dog using counter conditioning feel comfortable about things. Make sure that again that you're making that transition. At first, you deliver the treat and then the stimulus, but after a while, it's the stimulus and then the treat. But you have to make sure the dog's not fearful of it first. Come. All right, but I'd like the guardian also to take Teeka out and and it doesn't always have to be memorial, but find little areas of memorial where you can kind of be where you're around people, but not surrounded by people. And the goal is to gradually get closer and closer to the people.
Mulhouse is a good place.
Mulhouse is a good place as well, but
to not be around
it
too
is,
many.
but it is inside, and you don't have as many smells. It does have plant smells, so it's better. But you want to have the birds and the dogs barking and horns and all the rest of the stuff that provide a nice distraction. If I'm fearful about something and I'm just dwelling on it, it's going to be more fearful for me. Whereas, like I was just doing this today, I was working out and I got to the point of my workout where I was having to push through, and my mind is I'm dwelling on my workout and I'm not enjoying my workout. And I'm jogging in place. So I actually jogged into the kitchen and I grabbed a plate and put it up, and I looked out the window. And by the time I got back there, I was done. And so sometimes that distraction helps you get through those sort of things. And the idea for her is really to expose her to these things in a comfortable way. Now, dogs do get over things by literally moving forward. And so if we can get her practiced at walking around people, remember we're just walking in circles at a far enough distance where she's not twitchy, she's not trying to pull away, and then gradually we get her closer and closer. But this is again going to be a very progressive sort of scenario. Now, one other thing that I want to go over is well, I guess that's pretty much the summary of the main things. Now, what I want, the other thing I want the guardian to do is to start teaching his dog some new tricks or commands. This accomplishes a couple of things. First of all, it gives us a nice way to redirect the dog's attention, which is really helpful. But also, it boosts the dog's self-esteem. The more skills they know, the better, more confident they are. Also, it helps the dog see the guardian acting like a leader. And so, most of us, we love our dogs to death, but we don't provide a lot of structure, and they're loving on each other right now. But we don't provide them a lot of structure, and that takes away from their ability to have more confidence and feel better about themselves that way. So the more that we can teach, and what I'd like to do is try to have the guardian go to YouTube. You can go to my website too. I've got a bunch of tricks, but go to YouTube and just be like easiest, funniest dog tricks. Right there, that's you can call it passive training. Call it making out. They're right there biting.
I was going to ask you because yes, someone told me it's called mouth play, but they will do that for hours on end.
Yeah, it's fine.
That's normal?
Yeah, that's normal. And they're siblings, so it's probably even more so. But when they do that, yeah, I mean, just you can get a room. So every time they do that, you say, get a room. So if you have a friend come over and they start doing it, you say, get a room. They look over, see the dog's doing it. They would laugh. And remember to come up with funny command words when you're coming up with these new commands. You could say roll over, but if you call it stunt dog or TJ hooker or something like that makes people laugh, that lightens the mood. That's going to help her. Dogs are the only animal that can read facial expressions. So if we're smiling, the dog knows we're pleased.
Yeah.
Come. All right. Well, this is now I've forgotten your name. Matuko?
Khumbu.
Khumbu. I put way too many consonants in there.
And I just wanted to remind you because who was it? The girl on the phone?
Becca.
Becca. She wanted, she said that you have a puppy class. That's why you had to schedule earlier.
Yes.
I just wanted to give you a heads up. We're over time.
Yes, we are over time, but I love what I do. So that was Teeka, and that's
Khumbu.
Khumbu. I had it and I forgot it.
Khumbu. Should I turn this off?
Real quick. So this little motion, if you want to watch for Teeka, the lower you go, the more it's for the dog. And I make a kissing sound, and to put them in a sit, I usually go rock it over their head. Now she doesn't want to do it. We'll see if I can get it with him. Sit. And then I pet under the chin. Remember, always try to pet under the chin and just say the word sit or come. Don't say good sit or good come. Just say just the command word.
Well, the adjectives and
they'll make it easier. All right, well, this is their roadmap to success. Now remember, everything you do trains your dog. Only sometimes you mean it.